Good evening. It's me again. I'm back. Hello, New Covenant Baptist Church. Those of us who are listening and staying in like we're supposed to do and not going out, we're thankful that you got on with us tonight. I'm still into this book. I'm still reading this book. I want to encourage us during this week. This is what we call Holy Week. This week is leading up to Resurrection Sunday. Amen. I want you to know before I do anything else, I want to get it out that church is not canceled just because of coronavirus and COVID-19. Church is not canceled. Amen. Amen. I've seen so many different churches on Facebook Live on Sunday. I was like, wow, I went to like 5 different churches Sunday. I went to mine, then I went home and went to other churches. I stopped by Ebenezer. I went to Mount Lebanon, stopped by Burnett. I went to a lot of churches on Sunday. Amen. Just think what you can do in the comfort of your own living room. Amen. Amen. But we're glad to be back on tonight. We're glad to be in the land of the living. Actually, we're glad to be where God has called us to be. But on Saturday, we were talking about blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Thinking how that's like a oxymoron. You know, they that mourn, they may be comforted. What did God really mean? What did Jesus really mean when he said that? What do we mourn? That's the question. What do we mourn? First thing I think a lot of us mourn are the circumstances of life. You know, those dream busters, those things that wake us up out of our dream. We don't choose for these things to happen. We don't invite these things in. They just kick our door down and come on in and have a seat. What I'm saying is something that happens beyond our control. And not only does it happen beyond control, but it changes everything. I wish I could give you some tips for keeping the dream busters out, but that's impossible. We can't keep them out. Life has a way of waking everybody up one time or another. Everybody has that sudden, painful longing for yesterday when they didn't know how good they had it, just before the whole world fell in. And you know, when it happens, and if it hasn't happened to you, hold on, it's going to happen. I was always told if you ain't in a storm, watch out, one is coming, or you just got out of one. So just watch out, one is coming. Don't worry about when, don't worry about how, but one is coming. We don't have to keep waiting, keep worrying. Something is going to happen. Some might happen, might knock us off our feet, but it still gives us a chance to see what he's talking about. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. One thing I think we're blessed, we mourn the circumstances, then we're blessed by his presence. We're blessed by his presence. It works like this. In surprising ways, suffering makes room in our spirit for us to know and experience the blessing of God's peace and God's presence. Without suffering, we simply can't know his comfort. If you never went through nothing, you never knew that what faith in God can do. I think the songwriter said. In mourning, we experience the blessings of God's presence. You remember Job? Come here, Job. Let's talk to Job for a minute. You remember Job in the Old Testament? Satan was looking forward to Job's suffering. Job was experiencing what most of us would call a blessed life. He was rich, happily married, living the good life. But storms were on the horizon, and Satan figured it would go down a certain way. He thought, sad to say, like many of us think, that once the bad stuff came, Job would hold it against God and declare his religion to be useless. Now, the first chapter of that book of Job tells us that Job had 7 sons, 3 daughters, 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys. Not to mention a small army of servants. Job had it going on, if I can say it like I want to say it. That's where he started. But then Job became a kind of a case study of faith and suffering, because he lost nearly everything bit by bit. You know the story. A strong wind, maybe you don't know the story. A strong wind knocked down his house, killed his children, but the book of Job was just getting started. In the second chapter, Job lost his health. He was infested with sores over every inch of his body. He lost all of his livestock and all of his wealth, and Satan was betting on him losing all his faith in this bargain. His wife's best advice, all she could say was curse God and die, because what good is God if life doesn't work out for a time? to Satan's befuddlement, Job experienced God in a way that he had never experienced God before. Job said, my ears had heard of you, he said, but now my eyes have seen you. You ever been there? You ever been to the point where you know you didn't heard about God? You didn't heard about the blessings God has. You didn't heard about all the things God can do. But hearing and seeing is two different things. Can I get a witness from somebody tonight? Hearing what God has done, hearing what grandmama and them said, hearing what mama and them said, hearing what Uncle Joe and all of them said, sounds good. But what about knowing and seeing him for yourself? Here's what we find out in our suffering. There's a deep void that used to be filled with whatever we lost. It could have been stuff, or it could have been our relationships, none of which are bad things, but when it's gone, it leaves a void. It leaves a emptiness. And who's there to fill it up? God. He's right there to fill it up. See, when we suffer, we mourn. When we mourn, we are what? He said, comforted by the God of all comfort. Blessed are those who mourn. Everyone experiences loss, and no one is overjoyed by loss. Loss is loss, and that's what it is, except when it isn't. Let's write another 6-word story like we did last week. You especially understand this one if you're reading it through tear-filled eyes. God will not waste your pain. I preached a sermon one time, said, God will not waste your pain. How many of you know anything about Eugene Peterson? Eugene Peterson is the guy that wrote the Message Bible. He paraphrases Matthew 5:4 like this. He said, you're blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by one most dear to you. I think I better read that to you one more time. Blessed, you are blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then, only when you've lost what is most dear to you, can you be embraced by the one most dear to you. I don't think y'all understand what I'm saying. When you come to the end of yourself, you have an opportunity to experience the presence of God in a way that you never have experienced him before. Maybe you've embraced some wonderful things and lost some wonderful things, but there's no embrace like being embraced by God himself. Can I get a witness from somebody tonight? I need somebody to come along with me tonight. Somebody that's been through something, somebody that's lost, somebody that's been here and been there and not knowing what was going to happen on the next day, but some kind of way God came in and filled the empty void. I know I'm right about it because I ain't talking about nothing that I don't really know. I'm not talking about anything I read in Eugene Peterson's Bible or in this book. This is something that I have experienced myself. I've loved and I've lost. I lost my mother, lost my father, but God put somebody right in my life to fill that void. I mourn, but I was confident. I was confident because God came into my life and he made ways unimaginable for me. He made things work out that I never could have done on my own. Amen. So I just stopped by to let somebody know tonight. Embrace your pain. Embrace the things that are going on. You can't stop it from happening anyway. So when it happens, embrace it and wait on God to do something crazy in your life. Wait on God to fill the empty void. Amen. May God bless you. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow night. You have a good one.